Welcome to Dolphins Today by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. We're looking at some updated cut candidates. Miami was very, very busy this week with a trade for Darren Waller. That came after the Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith trade that they went to Pittsburgh. Miami got Minkah Fitzpatrick back. So with a couple changes to the roster, there's obviously going to be some new players that could be on the chopping block heading into training camp. And with Miami adding a tight end, losing a tight end, that room is a wash. But the Dolphins getting rid of a corner and adding a safety certainly changes the dynamic of this Dolphins secondary going into training camp, and it's likely going to mean that a player that might have been in on the roster bubble might ultimately be out of the bubble. It's clear that the roster has shifted. I mean, they have a legit safety room now. And, well, before this week, the safety room was one of the largest questions on this roster. So we'll take a look at a little bit of the roster and my top 5 cut candidates going into training camp. But we got challenged by a division rival, and I did not like it. We got called out by Patrick Seatman, Dylan Summer, and all those people over at the Jets Report. They got 489 likes. They said we couldn't top it. Hit that thumbs up icon. Help us out, and let's get to 500 likes to show them that the Dolphins fans absolutely mean business. All right, the first cut candidate. It's a player that has shown up on these videos that I've done in the past. We've done a couple cut candidates videos this summer. Patrick McMorris. I mean, if he was already on the video about getting a potentially cut, he is firmly in this kind of range now. He got screwed, if we're going to be honest. Like, I feel bad for Patrick. He was a 6th-round pick in 2024 out of Cal. He looked pretty solid in the preseason. Gets hurt. Doesn't really come to light until the back half of the year. But then with how the safety room was addressed this offseason, you thought maybe McMorris would get a shot to compete for a spot. But now it seems like he's firmly on the outs. Like, you signed Iafatu Malifonwu. You signed Ashton Davis. So you signed 2 safeties. You brought back Elijah Campbell. You drafted one in the 5th round, so higher capital than what you drafted McMorris on. And then you bring back a top 10 safety in the NFL and Minkah Fitzpatrick in the trade with Jalen Ramsey. Like, he was already on the roster bubble, and then you add a top 10 safety in football. You just simply can't keep 6 safeties. You can't. So to me, it's going to be a battle between him and Elijah Campbell potentially. Now, with that being said, I would give the edge to Campbell because he is a special teams guy. He was the top special teams gunner and a really good person in kick coverage as well. So, like, that has a ton of value. Dante Trader Jr. ain't going to get cut after being a 5th-round pick. I doubt Melifonwu or Davis do. So, it's like you're going to have Fitzpatrick, Davis, Melifonwu, Trader Jr., and then one of Campbell or McMorris. You're just not keeping 6. So, it's either going to be one of those 2. So, let me know. Make the call. Will Patrick McMorris be released? Type Y for yes. Type N for no. If I had to guess right now on July 5th, I'm probably saying yes because I think they keep Campbell. I'm going to go with Ethan Bonner as a cut candidate here. And I know this one might sting because I know a lot of Dolphins fans like Bonner and hoped he was going to be able to contribute for this football team. But I just don't see him surviving this offseason, really. Like, he probably will make it through the 3 preseason games and then get cut in between the final preseason game and the official 53-man roster release. But here's the thing. The cornerback room last year went through tons of injuries, right? Like, Kendall Fuller was hurt. Cam Smith stunk. Storm Duck was in there. And Ethan Bonner only saw the field in 2 games last season. And when you look at what Miami has now and then factor in that they're going to sign an NFL free agent, like, there just isn't a lot of optimism for me in terms of him making the roster. Like, I have 6 roster spots slotted to corners projected. You're going to have Cam Smith, Storm Duck, Kader Kohu, the 5th-round rookie Jason Marshall Jr. I think obviously whoever signed in NFL free agency, whether it's Rasul Douglas or Sante Samuel Jr., and that could be it if they're keeping a lot of safeties. But if they keep 6, I would give it to Artie Burns, who had a really good mandatory minicamp, a really good OTA period. So to me, I just don't see Bonner making this roster. Maybe the Dolphins would still try to keep him on the practice squad, but when it comes to the 53-man, I just don't see a lot of wiggle room for Ethan Bonner. We'll move to the offensive side of the field where we're going to have Tahj Washington be a cut candidate. Same draft class as Patrick McMorris. Tahj was obviously selected in the later part of the 2024 draft, particularly the 7th round. And he kind of got in a tough spot too because he didn't play last season either. He got hurt before the year, was put on the PUP list, or IR, I should say, which ended his season. He had no chance of returning. So when you think of what Miami has at wide receiver, I just don't see Tahj Washington making the squad. I'm projecting 5 wide receivers to make this roster. You'll see the 4 on screen with pictures. They're making it without a shadow of doubt. Like, unless one of them got hurt and they were placed on IR for the first 4 games of the season, and then the Dolphins kept an extra wide receiver, okay, but like assuming your top 4 stay healthy, I don't think Tahj has a really good shot. And maybe he just balls out to such a high degree where the Dolphins have no choice but to keep him. But with me projecting 5 wide receivers, I think the 5th one would be D. Eskridge, who can project as someone who plays as a really good slot wide receiver if Malik Washington can't get the job done. He also is someone who is really good on special teams and could be the kick returner alongside Tahj or Malik Washington or a subbing in punt returner. So I think D. Eskridge makes this roster with how the current wide receivers are, and that would put Tahj Washington on the out. Couple more cut candidates to get to here, but if you want more daily Dolphins coverage, this is the channel for you. Hit that sub button for videos every single day. Live shows pretty much every week as well. Join the channel right now for more on the Dolphins. 4th out of 5th cut candidate. Going to go back to the defense with Quinton Bell, the edge rusher, who was a free agent this year. Miami re-signed him to a 1-year, $1.25 million contract, similar to Elijah Campbell. But this is not more of a Quinton Bell issue. This is more of a, I'm hopping all aboard the Grayson Murphy hype train. This kid, Grayson Murphy, was a UDFA out of UCLA last season, got hurt after a couple good preseason games, costing him his entire season, just like Tahj Washington. But he's bounced back in OTAs, minicamp, been highlighted by beat reporters as a player that has been absolutely shocking and breaking out, if you will. I mean, ESPN wrote an article about the top breakout candidate or surprise candidate for each 32 team, and Grayson Murphy was the Dolphins, which we'll probably make a full video on that in the next coming week or so. Grayson Murphy could absolutely snatch that 5th edge roster spot. You're going to have Jalen Phillips, you're going to have Chop Robinson, you're going to have Bradley Chubb, and you're going to have Mohamed Kamara, the 5th-round pick from a year ago. But Miami has usually only kept 5 edge rushers. So it's either going to be Quinton Bell and Grayson Murphy. I think Grayson Murphy will ultimately win that battle, and that will be one of the most fun to watch in training camp and preseason. I mean, I am just absolutely fired up to watch some of these position battle competitions. You'll see it at corner. You'll see it at safety. You'll see it edge rusher between these two. Whoever performs the best in OT or in training camp and in those 3 preseason games is likely going to be that 5th edge rusher behind the 4 that I already mentioned. It's going to be absolutely fun to watch. Grab your Miami Dolphins polo right now. Sweet Nike gray Dolphins polo on sale, usually $65. You can get it for $40 when you go to chatsports.com/MIA Nike polo. There is sizes still available, but not many. So take advantage right now before they're out of here. Links in the description and comments of today's video. One more time, chatsports.com/MIA Nike polo. We'll round out today's show with Jake Bailey, who has shown up on our cut candidate video every single time. And I say this every single time, but why the hell is Jake Bailey still on the roster? I do not understand. If you cut Jake Bailey, you will receive $1.9 million more in cap space. That is not a lot, but it at least is something. He is not going to make this team. There is no suspense. We know who the punter for the Miami Dolphins in 2025 is. It is going to be Ryan Stonehouse, the free agent punter they signed. Why is it guaranteed? Well, because he was an all-pro in 2022 as a rookie. He got hurt in 2023, bounced back not in the best way in 2024, but he was the punter for Craig Aukerman, the Miami Dolphins special teams coach, when he was the special teams coach in Tennessee. Those two have a really good connection and are going to be working again together this season. Why are we still holding a roster spot for Jake Bailey? Free up the cap space. Free up a roster spot. I do not understand waiting unless they are worried about Stonehouse getting hurt in the preseason or training camp portion of the offseason, and they want to have Bailey on their roster as insurance. I don't get it. Just release him now. That will do it for today's show. When Jake Bailey inevitably gets released, we will have you covered on a video like that, or when any of these players get cut if they do. We also have daily coverage of training camp in the preseason and go live for all preseason games as well. So join the Dolphins Today family right now.